So the first part of creating a style guide is setting up the style guide. You notice in previous chapters what I did is I created a main.css. What we can do is actually use styleguide.css or just continue with our main. If we're actually looking at creating just a style guide, what we'd want to do is create styleguide.css, put it in our project folder, and then keep on working on the next style guide. One of the things that we want to do is, if it's part of a process of creating this sort of style guide and then creating a prototype and then the next page templates, we'd actually want to start inside the main.css, start tagging and annotating pieces of the style guide, and then being able to actually take that main.css and use it on the actual product. Our main goal here is to take our CSS style guide and actually use it on real pages. So the first thing we're going to do using this example, I've kept my main CSS within my main CSS folder. I've connected it to my empty index.html, and this is where we actually, in this case, let's say I'm going to use the example of I'm going to create a main.css for a style guide. What I'll do is I'll save my file. Instead of it being index, I'll call it styleguide.html. Now I have a style guide that's not the index.html. My index.html is a special HTML page that'll open against any folder that I do. So I really want to just keep a style guide that I'm going to put junk in here. By meaning junk, that means I'm just going to put some basic HTML. I might create a couple of squares or shapes to begin to look at colors. But the real end goal is to compare how my CSS works. The first setup is I have it connected to the main CSS. What I'm going to do before I move forward is let's lay out some of the key elements that I want in this style guide. I've copy and pasted an ability to add comments. In this case, it is a front slash and asterisk, and an asterisk, and another front slash. What this does is it gives me the ability of adding CSS without these comments actually coming up in actual text. It means they'll be inactive. So I can continue to sit here and add lines of comments on top and over the CSS. Why is this important? Well, what I really want to do in the style guide for myself is I want to begin to annotate what I'm going to be creating in it and what styles I need to match. So really what we want to be able to do is let's create a list of comments and start inserting CSS for each of the elements. Once we have those in place, we'll go back to the HTML. We'll start actually filling in HTML to see our CSS at work. Moving forward, the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of the comment. And what I'll do is in the first comment of HTML, I'll actually add global tags. Let's actually do full screen version so that everyone gets to see what we're doing. So I'm going to take global tags first. Sometimes I put in global, sometimes I'll put in two little dashes like this. The reality is a lot of these might go into our main style sheet. I might remove them. A lot of times we'll keep this in here. And the power of it, again, is just to show us where certain code is. The power is if I want to take all the font code out, I can. If I want to take all my layout code, I can. It's really about organizing my style sheet because I'm going to be going back to this style sheet over and over and over again. Hopefully, if I've done my job right, our style sheet's going to become our main.css, the main style sheet for the site, and it's okay to keep a lot of these comments out. So we're going to add comments on what we're adding into the style sheet itself and what we're actually going to cover in previous next sections. So we're going to add in global comments. We're going to add in colors. We're going to add in fonts. We're going to add in links. We're going to add in any padding or any that's important for us. We're going to add in any margin. We're going to add in any borders. And we're going to add in any backgrounds. We're going to go through each section, learn about some of the code, and as we go through, we'll remove and we'll add. Our real goal of the style sheet is to begin to sort of create a living, breathing page. We might get rid of the padding section, we might get rid of the margin section. It really depends what our page is going to look like. If we have unique areas where we decide to create a class that has for very specific layout or very specific padding, we would put it in the padding or the margin. If we created a series of divs or series of elements where we would add different border styles or colors, we would add it in the borders. And if we decided to change backgrounds and against different divs, we might actually not go all the way through that process, but we're going to learn each element, and hopefully we might actually end up with a really clean style sheet. Right now, our goal is really figure out what are the visual styles, how are they articulated, and as we go through, we're going to learn some CSS as well.